Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks so much for stopping by. Now today I'm sharing 10 cards 1 kit using this Pretty Present Shaker Kit. It's from Queen & Company and it is a fantastic kit. In fact, it's their best-selling kit ever. I'll leave links for all the products that I used today in the description area, but I wanted to show you what comes in this kit. It's a fantastic kit, great. We all need birthday presents, so this was wonderful. Now you get 3 different sizes of present shaker shapes, and then you get 3 of each, along with the acetate covers. And then to top your shaker shapes, you get 3 dies, 3 present dies that are so fun. You have one that is the medium size that has the stripes, and to make a quick and easy shaker shape, all you do is punch out that center piece and it fits that present die beautifully. So all you have to do is add your acetate and your toppings. Same goes with the larger one. Large ones has the polka dots on there, and then the small one has the squares on the inside. But this is a fantastic way to create fun and easy shakers. So those are your presents there. And then in this kit you also get the Pretty Present 6x6 paper pad. You get tons of pattern papers, and the nice thing is you get 4 sheets of each. So you definitely won't run out. These are double-sided, which are lovely, and the colors on there is just so pretty. Now you also get a full-size stamp set. This is a 4x6 stamp set. And then you get 11 sentiments. Now most of them are birthday themed, but there are some that are just because, which is wonderful. Everything comes all tidy in your little hole punched canvas bag there. Then you also get your toppings. You get 6 colors, and these are like little sprinkles, which are so fun, and they coordinate with your paper pad beautifully. Then you also get 3 smaller bags of these little itty bitty toppings that are actually shaped like little bows, and they're so cute. So you get 3 of those. Now I wanted to also let you know that this is everything basically that comes in the Pretty Present Shaker Kit. Now today I'm going to be using most of all the presents in here. So the nice thing is Queen & Co. has refills. So this is what the refill package looks like. So once you're done with the kit, you'll have plenty of pattern papers left over, and you can get the refills, which is wonderful. And they're very economically priced. But we're going to go ahead and jump in with our first card. I'm going to take the medium size present, and I'm going to cut out a pink one using the die there. And then using a circle die from my stash, I'm going to cut out a circle with the blue pattern paper. And then I also cut out a few strips of the pattern paper, the polka dot and then the diagonal stripes and then the yellow. Now when I die cut out my present, I wanted to keep the inside pieces together, so I stuck them together with some Post-it tape. What I like to do is to keep my shaker shape together, and I'll remove the inside piece of acetate. So it's going to leave me a little bit of sticky backing just on the inside piece. And then I'll take my present and place it right on top. And then I'll remove my Post-it tape. And then I'll carefully, well, I'm going to punch out my little pieces here. But then if you carefully remove your present on top, those inside pieces will stick to the present on the inside of your shaker shape. So this present I'm actually going to use for my next card, so I'm going to set that aside. But that's a nice little tip on what to do with the negative pieces of your die cut element. Now I'm creating a white background using some white cardstock, and I'm just going to stick down my shaker shape to the white cardstock. I'm going to trim off the excess here. And then I'm going to fill up my little shaker with some toppings. Now I'm going to create a little rainbow mix. So I'm going to mix some yellows and some pinks and some blues and a little bit of red. But I wanted to create the same colors that were in the polka dot pattern paper there. So I'm just filling it up. Okay. Once I think that looks great. It matches pretty good. I'm going to remove the backing off the very top of my shaker shape, and then I'll go ahead and add my acetate. Everything's pre-measured for you. If you get it straight, I happen to get mine crooked, so I have to trim it off just a little bit. But everything's pre-measured for you, which makes it super duper easy. but there's my little shaker. Now I'm going to use some sheer glue. Queen & Company actually sells some sheer glue that dries clear, and it's great for adhering your pattern paper to your shaker. So that I just put it in a smaller applicator bottle. But I attached my present to my shaker, and then we're ready to create our background. Now I cut out a panel. It's going to leave me a little bit of a white border on my card base using white cardstock. I'm just going to adhere my polka dot pattern paper, and then I'm going to adhere my yellow pattern paper, and then using my glue I'm going to attach my diagonal stripe pattern paper to the left of my yellow there. Any excess that's hanging over, I'm just going to use my scissors and trim off. I'm upside down, so I got to flip it over. Okay, now I'm going to actually trim down a little portion of my circle so I can lay it right against my diagonal stripe pattern paper. And I just adhere that to my panel. And next, we need to stamp our sentiment. Now I thought it'd be fun. I have these itty bitty tag dies from my stash. So I've just pulled one out, and I want to use a piece of white cardstock and die cut out a little white tag. I thought it'd be cute if it had a little tag. So once that's die cut, I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says "Just for you," and it fit perfectly on that tag. I think these tags would be easy to cut out with white cardstock without using a die too. So now this is sparkle string. Queen & Co. has a variety of colors, and this happens to be the silver one. And I'm just going to thread that through my present, and then I'll tie a little knot, and then I will add my little tag, and then I'll just tie a bow, attaching them both together. And I think that creates that's a nice little way to add a sentiment. Okay, now I'm going to use my tape runner and adhere my shaker in the center, well, on my circle there. And then I am going to grab a piece of foam tape. I have to double it up so it matches the same size as my shaker, but I'm going to place that underneath my tag. Now for a few bells and whistles, yes, I'm going to take, these are Goosebumps. I've used these before, but they are so pretty. I'm just going to line a few of them around the top portion of my circle, and then I'm going to add my panel to my card base, and that finishes off that card. Now we're already into card 2, so I wanted to use, this is the negative piece that we had from card number 1. Now to decorate this, I'd like to add glitter. So this is just some clear glitter, and I'm just rubbing it in because those white areas on the inside of the foam are sticky. So the glitter sticks beautifully. Now if you don't like to use glitter, you could just use your anti-static powder tool and get rid of the tackiness, and I think that would work too. To tie my bow, I'm going to use some cord. Again, the nice thing about Queen & Co. is there's tons of bells and whistles that they offer. This is cording, and it comes in a variety of colors, and it's stretchy, which is so nice. So I used the orange one, to tie a little bow around my present. Now that's going to go towards the top portion of this white cardstock. Now I went ahead and stamped my sentiment. It says something. What does my sentiment say? Just a little something. There we go. And then to decorate the bottom portion of this white cardstock, I'm going to use some pattern papers. I'm just going to layer the blue with the green. If I can get it straight. I always get it crooked. And then I'm going to use my glue and attach the yellow pattern paper to the very bottom. And then I'll just go ahead and trim away all the excess that's overhanging. Now I did have a little piece of this yellow pattern paper. I'm going to adhere that to the left side of this panel. Lovely. And then now remember there's backing on here, so all you have to do is remove the backing off of your foam, and you have automatic sticky, which is so nice. And then I'm just going to place that in the center there. Now I thought it needed a little bit of shimmer, and so Queen & Co. also has some Sparkle Rick Rack. I don't think I've used this before, but this is so fun. It's a great way to add a little bit of shimmer to your card. I just trimmed down a little bit of piece using some glue, and I attached it to that yellow pattern paper. And I think it creates a nice little dimension to your card too. Now I'm going to adhere this polka dot pattern paper to my panel. Lovely. And then I'm going to add some foam squares behind this panel. And actually the polka dot pattern paper I actually adhered to my card base, guys. My card bases for all 10 cards today are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. But that finishes off that card. Okay, now we're going to move along to card number 3. I wanted to create 3 shaker presents. So I grabbed 3 different colors of pattern paper. I'm going to cut out 3 each of these presents. Now again, I'm going to use the negative pieces of the presents. So I'm just going to punch out the inside pieces of my shaker shape, and then I'm going to go ahead and add each of these little squares to the inside pieces of my present. Now I'm not going to use these for this card. I'm going to use this for my next card, but I was afraid I was going to lose those little pieces, so I figured I'd go ahead and add those right now. So I set those aside, and now we're going to create our shaker. So I cut out a panel that's slightly smaller than my card base. It's going to leave me a little bit of a white edge. Now this card is going to be clean and simple, but I think the colors just, I love these 3 colors. I think they're probably my favorite. I even like them in oxide inks. But I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says congrats right in the center of my panel using some VersaFine ink. And then I'm going to add my shaker shapes. Now I'm going to remove the backing, and these are going to go directly on my panel. Now to keep these centered, I'll add one to the left, and then I'll remove the backing, add one to the right, and then remove the backing again, and then place this one in the center. Now I didn't press down on them yet. I want to make sure that they were even, but then once I knew they were even, I pressed down on them, and so they're stuck to my panel really good. Next, we're going to add our little toppings. I chose the same color toppings as the same color of presents. So I added my acetate to the very top. And now I'm going to add a little bit of glue and add my pattern paper. And again, the same colors for the toppings that I used were the same colors for the presents. For this card, I kept wanting to add a little bit more and a little bit more, but I had to stop myself because sometimes simple is better, and I really like the way this looks. I just adhered this to my white card base, and then that finishes off that card. Very clean, but very pretty. Okay, now we're going to move along to card number 4. We're going to use the negative pieces of our shaker shapes. Now to create little presents, I'm going to use some more of the sparkle string. This is the gold sparkle string. I'm going to just wrap it around my present, and I'll just trim it off and then wrap it around again on the other side. That way my presents have a real pretty gold ribbon around them. Now, for these presents I actually did add glitter to the white areas so they have a little bit of sparkle. I kind of skipped that step because my video is running long. But next I'm taking a piece of white cardstock, and I'm actually going to emboss it with a circle embossing folder that I have for my stash. I wanted to leave the background white, but I wanted to give it a little bit of texture. So once we have that finished, I'm going to add a piece of the diagonal stripe pattern paper to the lower part of my panel here. And then next we're going to stamp our sentiment. For this card I chose the same sentiment as we used for the last card. Just says just a little something, which is perfect little card for any occasion. I'm going to stamp the sentiment on a strip of white cardstock, and that's going to go there. I'm just going to place this on an acrylic block, and using my VersaFine ink I'm going to stamp that. Now I want to stamp it a little bit towards the right because my presents are going to go to the left. So that's why I left it on there. I just wanted to make sure everything was evenly spaced. Lovely. Okay, using my tape runner, I'm going to adhere that to my stripe pattern paper. And then I'm going to lift up my panel. And then I'll flip that over and then add some foam tape behind it. And then place that on my card base. So it's lifted up a little bit. And then I did adhere my little presents. Now for a little bit of shimmer, I'm going to go in with some silver goosebumps. These are so pretty. These are like little diamonds. Little diamond clusters, I should say. But I just added a few of those here and there. And then that completes that card. Now for card number 5, I cut out 2 of the larger presents. And I did add Post-it tape to the very top. And then I'm going to remove the center backing. I'm going to place my pattern paper right on top. And then I'll remove my Post-it tape. And then carefully remove my present, and then all my little circle pieces are perfectly aligned, and I love that. I'm going to punch it out, and we're going to use that for another card. Now I did the same thing to the next one, but I flipped the pattern paper over, so I have pattern paper on the reverse side. Now I'm going to add some white cardstock behind my shaker window here. But before we do anything else, I'm going to grab some more pattern paper to create our background. Now I'm going to directly adhere this red pattern paper to the center of my card base, but it was a little too wide. So I'm going to take my paper trimmer and carefully, because I know there's sticky back on there, but I'm going to trim it down just a little bit so it fits a little bit better. Much better. So I'll adhere that in the center. And then I'll go ahead and adhere my pattern paper right to the center there, and then along with my plaid right across. Now for this card, I want to do something a little bit different, and I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it worked out beautifully. I wanted to create a longer present, and so I'm actually going to take the second shaker shape and cut it in half, well, a little bit more than half. And then this is going to go right up against the bottom portion of the one that we first adhered down. I got it a little crooked, so I'm going to trim it down a little bit more. And I think that looks great. I'm going to adhere this to my card base. I want it to go a little bit lower, so I'm going to lower it, and then I'll lower that top portion. And you want to make sure that they're really close to each other, as close as you can get. That way your shaker bits don't fall out. Now for my toppings, I'm going to use the little pink bows. I used the whole entire bag. It's a pretty good sized present. I'm going to remove, well, I'm going to trim down one of my die cut pieces here. And I didn't want to toss this part out, so I'm going to layer it to the very top of this present to give it a little bit more dimension. Now I added my shaker window, and then I added my pattern paper to the very top, and I think created a super long present. But I do have a seam there. So I'm going to stamp my sentiment. It says happy birthday to you, again using VersaFine ink. And I just fishtailed the ends, and I thought this would be perfect to cover up my seam. For bells and whistles, I added a few of the silver goosebumps around the pattern paper, and then also faux stitching around the red pattern paper. And then that finishes off that card. Now for card number 6. I'm only going to use one of these presents for card number 6, but I wanted to use the same glitter. So I'm going to glitter up both of these negative pieces of the shaker shapes. This glitter here is from Ranger. It's Distress Glitter Dust, and it has beautiful silver and gold hint to it. So I just filled in the tacky part of my shaker shape here. Now I'm going to tie this present here with some red stretchy cord. Just tied a bow right in the center. And then I'm going to take this pattern paper and stamp my sentiment. My sentiment for this card, I chose your friendship is a gift. And I wanted it to be white. So I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool and stamp it with some VersaMark ink towards the right here. And then I'm going to go in with some white embossing powder, and I went ahead and melted it. So my sentiment's nice and bold. Okay, Now I'm going to attach my present to a piece of white cardstock. I didn't want it to drown out behind my background there, so the white helped out. I'm going to attach this pattern paper to my card base. And then I'm going to take my sentiment, and that's eventually going to go on the bottom. But I want to add some more sparkle rickrack. I have some red sparkle rickrack here, and I just trimmed down a strip, and then using my sheer glue, I attached that to the seam on the very top of my sentiment. Now I'm just using my tape runner to adhere my present right in the center. And then for bells and whistles, I did want to say that if you use your sheer glue, the sparkle rickrack, it took a little bit of time to dry. So, but I added a few of the goosebumps next to my sentiment, and then that finishes off that card. Okay, now we got to use this present up. So I'm going to tie a bow with some sparkle string. This is the clear sparkle string. I'm just going to tie a bow to the very top. Lovely. Okay. Next, I'm going to cut out a scallop edge using some white cardstock, and this scallop die is just one for my stash. And then I cut out the orange pattern paper. I cut out a panel, and then also this multicolored pattern paper too. I just attached that to the very bottom. Okay. Now, after I did that, I thought, well, I forgot to add my scallop, so I'm going to lift it up and place this on my scallop, and then I'll place that back where I had it. Okay, we just got to trim off the edges here. Okay, now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. I'm going to stamp it. The sentiment that says, "I got you something." So cute. And using my anti-static pattern tool, I am going to go over my panel. I'm going to stamp my sentiment with some Versamark ink. And again, I'm going to use some white embossing powder. Just going to go over the top of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and use my heat gun and melt that, so my sentiment's nice and white and vivid. Okay, I'm going to adhere this panel to my card base, and I ran out of glue, so I got to grab another one. I'm just going to place it right in the center. And then I have a strip of the same pattern paper that I had used for my polka dots on my present. I just cut out a 1/4-inch strip. I'm going to go the length of my card base and place that in the bottom. And then I'll remove the backing off of my present. And then that's going to go right next to my sentiment. If I can get it straight. I bet if I made my cards with my head tilted a little bit, I'd probably get things a little bit more straight. But I added a few more of the gold goosebumps, and that finishes off that card. Okay, now for my next card, I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting. So I'm going to cut out a yellow circle, and then I'm going to cut out a white circle frame that's going to fit right inside of my yellow circle, and then I'm going to cut out a pink present. Okay, now I did add my post-it tape, but I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to adhere my circle frame here, and that's going to go right on the inside of my circle there. We're just going to glue that down. Okay, now we need to create a shaker. So I have my little shaker window here. And again, I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the others. I'm just going to place my pattern paper right on top, remove my postie, and I missed a piece, so I'm just going to place it right back in there. And the lines on this present were on the thinner side, so I had to go really slow because I was afraid that they were going to tear. But I'm going to use that negative piece for my next card. Actually, I didn't use that negative. Yeah, I did. Okay. I'm getting sidetracked here. I created a background with the same pink pattern paper. I just placed it behind my shaker window there. And then I want to add some toppings. I'm going to add some yellow toppings. I'm going to go ahead and peel off that backing and then add my acetate to the very top. And then any excess I just trim off with my scissors. They're made to fit perfectly, but I have an issue with acetate. But I'm going to use my glue and just adhere my pink present to the very top. Now I cut out this pattern paper here. This is going to go out directly on my card base. Okay, I'm going to attach my little circle. I'm going to attach it towards the top, and I did have a little bit of overhanging, so we're going to trim that off. Now I did cut out another circle with white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp my sentiment on that circle. The sentiment I chose for this one says "Hurry up and open me," which is the cutest. And I decided to stamp this with my VersaFine ink towards the top because I'm going to cover up the bottom portion of that circle. Okay, I'm going to use my tape runner and adhere that right there. And then I'm going to take the blue pattern paper, and that's going to go right underneath my sentiment, straight across my card base. I did cut out a strip of the presents. These presents were in the pattern paper that has lots of rows of it. I just cut out one row. I'm going to attach that. And then just using my tape runner again, I'm going to adhere that all the way across my card base. I'm going to go ahead and attach my shaker window or shaker shape. And then I'm going to add a few little bells and whistles, just one actually, one goosebump to the center of my present. And then that finishes off that card. Okay, now moving along to card number 9. This was the negative piece I was talking about. I cut out some super thin strips of the diagonal stripe pattern paper, and since the white areas on the negative piece is sticky, they stuck down beautifully. So I just going to add some diagonal stripes here, trimming off any overhanging, and I think that creates a real fun card. Cute. Okay, now I want to tie a bow, so I'm going to use some sparkle string. This is some black sparkle string, and I'm going to tie the bow towards the top of my present, and then I'm also going to tie another bow, but I'm going to save that for attaching later on. So we're going to set those aside and work on our background. I cut out, well, we're going to stamp our sentiment first. For this card I chose "Just for You, Enjoy," and again using my VersaFine ink, I'm going to stamp it right in the middle of a piece of white cardstock. Okay, I have 4 strips of pattern paper, and I actually later on threw in one more blue, but these are 1-inch strips, and I'm going to attach them together to create my background. And I'm doing attaching them so they're all different sizes for my background panel. Now next I'm going to take the present die, and I'm going to cut out a present window. I'm going to just tape this down and run this through my die cut machine, and so I have a nice present window. Now I already attached my pattern paper to my card base, and I cut out a strip of this diagonal stripe pattern paper. That's going to go below my sentiment, and then I'm just going to trim it down, and I'm going to pop it up with some foam tape and place that right below my present window there. Now I'm going to remove the backing off of this present, and then I'm going to attach that extra little bow right to the back. I wanted to create a bow on top that kind of emulated the die cut window, so that was my way of doing that. That's going to go right in that open space there, and trim off the tails of my present. Lovely. Now I did go around each one of my pattern papers with some faux stitching, and that finishes off that card. Okay, now moving along to card number 10, I'm going to die cut out the larger present with some orange cardstock, and I added some white cardstock behind my shaker piece here. I'm going to remove the backing and go ahead and add my acetate, and then using my glue I'm going to go ahead and add my pattern paper to create my present. And I used the for this card I used the itty bitty toppings that were shaped like bows, and they are so cute, but I used the whole bag. Okay, now I also cut out some pattern paper using my circle dies, and I'm just going to layer 3 of them together here, and then for the blue and the yellow here I'll layer those 2 together. Just kind of arrange them. And as I was looking at it, I'm going to lift up the green circle here and put the blue in its place. I think it balanced the colors a little bit nicer. I want to kind of create a pattern, the same pattern as the present. So now we need a sentiment. I chose From You to Me, and I'm just going to use my VersaFine ink and stamp that to the upper right here. I'll use my tape runner and go ahead and attach my circles. I wanted them overhanging just a little bit, and I wasn't, normally I like to trim it down, but this time I thought I'm going to leave them overhanging a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and attach my present. Okay, I'm going to flip this panel over. Using my tape runner, I'm just going to adhere that to my card base. This was a quick and easy card, but I thought it was fun. Now I did decide to go in with some silver or clear goosebumps, and I'm going to add those a little bit for a little bit of shimmer. There we go. And that's card number 10. So these are the 10 cards I made today using the Queen & Company's Pretty Presents Shaker Kit. And I could see why it was the best-selling kit, because it's so versatile. I mean, everybody needs present cards or birthday cards, right? So again, links will be in the description area for you guys, along with all the extras that I used. Let me know what you think by leaving me a comment. Again, as always, I love to hear your guys' comments. And I thank you so much for stopping by. I wish you a fantastic day. We'll see you again soon.